Hey, welcome to episode Sweet 16 of Another Disney Podcast for the week of April 16th. Here we go.
Another week. We're done with them.
Another day, another dollar.
I can't. I'm so bad at this. Okay.
We're going with it.
Let's just like get right in. Sorry, I'm doing a sweeping motion. Let's get right into housekeeping.
Yes, let's do it. Okay, so guys, we finalized Attraction Madness. It is over.
It's done.
Yeah. For those of you who did not know, we were in the finals, and it was one attraction from Walt Disney World, one attraction from Disneyland, and they were representing the Orlando theme parks. That made it to the finals was the
hold on.
Mansion.
Oh, dang, I was going to do a drum roll. I moved my mic and everything.
Do it. Was the Haunted Mansion. Okay, there we go. And from Disneyland, Pirates. Oh, nice. I like that. That was good. Those things came in and say the winner, because we kept everything secret. This time you couldn't see like the percentage of the votes. Like I figured out to do how they do the internet stuff, and nobody knew.
Oh, you did the internet stuff?
Yes.
Okay, we're ready?
That's fancy.
And so it was a landslide win. Of course, the best ride in the universe won. Haunted Mansion in Walt Disney World. Yes! Woo, my favorite
I love
ride
it.
in history. I did not. I think I need a little star disclaimer that says, I did not have anything to do with the outcome. It almost sounds like, okay, I'm dating myself, but does anybody remember the Gong from the Gong shows like in the 70s? Nope. Okay, moving on.
The Gong from the Gong shows in the 70s? What does that mean?
There was a show called The Gong Show.
God,
there was a show called The Gong Show. They had a big gong, and they
Yeah,
were
it
just
was like if you were awful, you got gonged. I don't.
Goodness.
Did we just make that a verb? Okay. All right. But none of that matters. What matters is somebody won. Matthew, tell the fine people at home what our prizes were.
Oh, hold on. Well, I don't know. I think we're all still trying to figure that out.
Oh, no, I told the people.
I'm just kidding. Okay, so they win a iridescent
That's right. Modeled after the 50th anniversary. Thank
another
you.
Disney podcast sticker. You also get a not iridescent acrylic pen.
The coveted.
Coveted. It has, look, you can take it off and it's pointy and everything.
Please don't stab me.
Wow. No guarantees. Okay. And the grand prize.
Nobody cares about this part.
You're right.
That's what they wanted.
$25 gift card to Disney.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So, have we announced who the winner was? I can't remember.
I don't think
no, I don't think so.
I don't think we have.
Who wants to do the honors?
Brandon.
I can do the honors.
Who is it, Brandon? Oh, hold on. I gotta get ready.
Gotta get the Gong Show ready.
Are you ready? And the winner of the coveted prize from Another Disney Podcast is Holly Carter.
Yes, Holly Carter.
Yes.
Yay.
Picked the winner, and she won.
It's so
And
exciting.
she won.
I feel like there has to be. Is this the asterisk? You know, where they're like batteries not included. This is where they say this winner was chosen at random.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
100%. Okay.
Oh, I love it.
Exciting stuff.
Congratulations, Holly.
Congrats, Holly.
I mean, we'll send you the gift card if you want it, but I know what you're really excited for. There's no doubt.
Thanks for participating
Yeah,
and having
thanks
fun.
everybody for participating. It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. A lot of fun.
Next year, I'll be sure to sway the results to make sure that Carousel of Progress wins.
Hey, quick question.
Yeah.
Does March Madness always end in April?
It actually does, but
It does.
I didn't do good math, and we're like a week and a half behind.
Why is it called March Madness?
Because the majority of the actual games are in March. Like, as it starts out, obviously, with 64 teams. So there's like 12 games every day at the very beginning. So you're watching sports all day. And then as it goes further in the tournament, you have less and less games. So there's less madness.
Yikes.
You just read Matthew a bedtime story. I
So
think he's gonna
hold
fall
on.
asleep.
Let me just get something straight here. March Madness is something that happens longer than March, and you have to watch sports every day?
Not every day.
Sorry,
the
all day
beginning.
when you do
Yeah.
watch
All day.
sports.
Yeah.
Because there's like 64 athletic teams. That's
Okay.
just the guys. Plus, there's the ladies tournament too.
So, okay, but you're telling me the most coveted part of March Madness doesn't happen in March?
This is
No,
correct.
Well, some would say the most coveted part. If the championship game, yes, that's exciting. I think the most coveted part of the tournament is the first weekend when games start at noon and they end at midnight for 4 days straight. That's the most coveted part, which does happen in the month of March.
Brandon sent me a picture of like his setup at home because he couldn't go to like the bars or whatever. And so he had 3 computers, 47 widescreen TVs, and an adult beverage. It was pretty great.
I made my own bar. It was great.
I did this the first week. Dave just did that thing with the iridescent. I did this
man.
the first week I had it.
It's gonna fall down whenever I do something.
I
fun.
don't even
Never
have
came back.
any iridescent pins, so
Crazy.
Well, neither do we, so it's fine.
Hey, guess what? We'll see you soon. Oh yeah, we don't have any of those anyway. It doesn't make any sense. Hey, we do have one really cool thing.
What do we got?
To share this week in housekeeping, and that is
Does it need a drum roll?
yeah, I mean, I feel like that's the theme. We have been asked by Bill, who is the owner of Magic of the Mouse Radio,
Bill Steen.
to have our show on their 24/7, 365 live radio station. And so if you're not familiar with Magic of the Mouse Radio, what I just said, it's a 24/7, 365 radio station that plays all of your favorite music, rides, and attractions from all of the Walt Disney theme parks. And they also play movie soundtracks. And then they, of course, have sprinkled in, there's a few podcast shows that are on there. Our great friends Troy and Mimi from Disney Assembled are actually on there.
Oh, yeah.
And Bill reached out to us a couple weeks ago, and so we plowed through all of the fine print, and we're going to jump on, and I think it'll start with this episode. So
Awesome.
if you ever are, the biggest thing is, if you're ever interested sitting at work, doing house cleaning, throwing the headphones on to get rid of your annoying screaming children in the background, am I speaking from experience? I don't know. It's a great way to just kind of connect with the parks and have some park music. And so go check them out. It's Magic of the Mouse Radio, and you can find them on YouTube.
Hold on. I will say, because we're on Magic of the Mouse this week, we have to welcome new listeners because there are likely new
You're right.
listeners from this lovely endeavor. So welcome everybody listening to Magic of the Mouse Radio. We also have a YouTube channel where you can actually see our faces if you would like. We're here.
yes.
Welcome.
We're here. And speaking of our YouTube channel,
What we got?
we want to thank you guys out there. You guys helped us reach the magical 100 subscriber level. So now, instead of having a crazy YouTube URL, we have our very own special youtube.com/Another Disney Podcast.
It is
So we
happening.
want to thank all of you out there. We want to especially thank Rob.
Yes, thank you, Rob.
Oh, yes.
Rob helped us get there super quick, but everybody contributed. So we just wanted to say thank you to all of our listeners. Thank you to all the new listeners, the people who've been there since the beginning. We love you.
Thanks, folks.
You can find Magic of the Mouse Radio at live365.com. So if you use your interweb search engine of choice and you search Magic of the Mouse Radio, or you find them on Facebook, it will take you right to their station. Right now, it is playing Hey Manaoa Hulu Tempo, which I'm guessing is probably something from the Polynesian. That would be my guess. Matthew's looking. So, and if you haven't watched, well, you haven't, but tune in to Reimagineer next week, where I try to put the Ohana restaurant in nearly every place in the World Showcase because we just need more of the Ohana restaurant. That's a true story. It happened. Tell your friends.
True story.
True
Yes,
story.
it's so silly to have been so excited about the YouTube, but if you remember, I got to do it one more time for my homies. Like our YouTube address was youtube.com/WXR from 1411 RW. That's what it was. And it's so like, how's anybody going to find you? And now it's youtube.com/Another Disney Podcast. It's so amazing. It's so amazing.
Super amazing.
Hey, does anybody else need... Okay, hold on. It's my turn.
Okay, go.
YouTube.com/Another Disney Podcast. Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody
That's
said it
plugging.
now, so I just had to make
Speaking
sure.
of plugging, today's episode is sponsored by none other than Park Sense. We love us some Park Sense. Right now, we have a melting on the heating melter thing. I'm so into candles and smells, but I don't know what
Wax melter?
Thank you. Yep, on the wax melter, and it smells exactly like the Flight of Passage ride in Animal Kingdom's Avatar Land, Pandora. Did I just really call it Avatar Land?
Avatar Land.
Good old
Rookie
Avatar
mistake.
Land.
So I can feel the Banshee breathing, and we're going down into the iridescent. That's probably not what it is. It's the black light inspired.
Bioluminescent?
Yep, that's it. Words are my favorite. Okay. Shall we get into some park news and end this madness?
Park snooze, am I right?
Not snooze.
Snooze.
Park news.
I've wanted to say that
Park
for a long
snooze.
time.
Park snooze. It sounds like it's going to be sleepy and boring. It is. Tell your friends.
So, hey guys, I found out this week and it was announced that Disney is closing. I say closing, but it's more like a reimagining of Mouse Gears in Epcot, and they are bringing back Club Cool. So that's kind of exciting.
Love that place.
So excited.
Disney just announced that they are bringing a new flagship front of the park gift shop to Epcot. The shop will be called the Creation Shop, and it will be replacing Mouse Gears. So you can see the construction when you're walking from Mission Space over to Test Track.
Yep.
Based on the renderings, it'll be a futuristic, sleek new shop with glass, and it will showcase a variety of different Epcot items. To me, if you've ever been to Disney Springs and you've seen the Disney Style store there, just outside the Orange Garage and by the movie theater, I kind of think of it as a bigger version of that store, kind of modern, big glass walls you can see, and it makes you want to go in there. So it'll be kind of cool to see a new shop. I think Mouse Gears kind of got shafted when the construction happened and they had to stick it in kind of the back of a building that was really hard to find. So I think this store is going to be cool, but let's be honest. Of all the names, like a group of people sat in a room, and of all the cool things they could have picked, they picked the Creation Shop.
Yeah,
Hold on, I wasn't ready for that.
Oh.
The first time you said the Creation Shop,
We
Dave and
didn't-
I almost did the same thing.
Like
we
we
didn't
did.
rehearse it.
We did jazz hands. For
Yeah,
lack of a
jazz
better term. If you weren't, I didn't even think about the name. I was just so excited that it wasn't going to be called Mouse Gears.
Yeah, hold on a second. Well, what I love is Mouse Gear is such a brilliant name for a Disney shop because it's Mickey Mouse and you're talking about gear that you're getting.
Fair.
Mouse Gear, which is
Fair.
brilliant. It doesn't make sense in Epcot. But also Creation Shop? Really?
Okay, now that you guys mentioned it, it's kind of weird. Okay, fair.
I don't get it. I just think it's super boring, and they could have come up with a way better name. So,
We have to create a new name for a shop. Done.
done. Did
Where
you
do I
say
sign?
create? Let's call
Where
it
do I
the
sign?
Creation Shop.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys saw this, but they released, or somebody found, like the permits for like a massive video wall that's going into that store.
Yeah, man.
So
Let's do that.
that should be pretty.
I'm pumped.
I don't know what it's going to look
Here's-
like or what the point of it is, but it'll be cool.
Here's what I'm calling. I think that mural will divide Creation Shop from Club Cool.
Okay. All right.
I think that's what's going to happen.
All right. Let's reimagineer the creation name. Let's go.
And
Centurium.
To me, when I think of the Creation Shop, it's all those like Disney tech things where you can design like your own cell phone case or you can design your own shirt. So I just hope that it's not a bunch of that you just go in there and you make your own stuff from a template.
That's true. I don't think it will be.
That's just what I see. I don't think it will be, but that's just what I think of when I hear the Creation Shop.
As long as there's an overstock of Epcot merchandise, I'm in.
Okay, I have a little story to tell about that. Okay. Gather around, children, for story time.
Okay.
Have any of you seen a pretty famous and now getting quite old movie called Jurassic Park? Has everyone seen Jurassic Park? The OG one?
The OG, yeah. That's the
sounds
first movie I
familiar.
saw
Sounds familiar.
multiple times.
There you go. Okay.
Sorry.
All
that
right.
too.
So Do you remember when they're sitting in I don't even, I'm not going to pretend to remember, but there's a part where he's like, might you have dinosaurs on your dinosaur tour? Anybody remember that spot?
Oh, 100%.
In the film? Okay. All right. The past 2 times that I've gone to Mouse Gears during the construction phase of it being over there, they have not had anything Epcot branded. And so here's my question for you, Epcot and Creations. Will you have Epcot stuff in your Epcot shop? Because I would really like a really cool, I don't have anything of the new logo.
So
Yeah, I agree.
There's this big thing going on right now. It's called the reimagining of Epcot. It's like a really big thing going on. Yeah. And so everybody wants Epcot merchandise.
Okay.
So they can't keep it in stock.
The lady that I asked, she was like, I know, there hasn't been any for a while. And
She's like, I know, you're like the 17,000th person to come up to me today.
Thing. Okay, so yeah, please, will you include dinosaurs on your dinosaur tour?
That's all I got. Dinosaur tour.
Also, I mean, can you please have an Epcot shop in your Epcot theme park?
I agree. Where all the nice Epcot merchandise can be purchased.
Or anything.
Although now I think about it, I mean, maybe the Epcot merchandise is really only because they're going through this huge retheming, rebranding right now. And because, I mean, think about it, how much Animal Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, Magic Kingdom merchandise do we have?
That's a fair point.
You know?
Yeah.
So, but their logos don't look as cool as this one.
So maybe I feel like we're going to have a giant restock of Epcot stuff when the park really starts opening back up.
Did they give a date or is it just summer?
Summer. It just says opening summer 2021.
I feel like the store will open before Club Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of Club Cool, I'm kind of interested to see how that's going to work in the world we're in right now. I think by the time it opens, we're not going to be 100% back to full capacity, and obviously no masks, as we know. You'll still have to have the mask, as we know now. So, as we know, Club Cool was kind of a free for all, right? You just grabbed cups and you pushed past people and made your way to the Beverly. But I don't know how that's going to work now. So it'll be interesting to see when they reopen it. Is it going to be something like Matthew and I talked about, where you go up to a counter and they just give you a tray with a sample of everything? Or it'll be interesting to see.
I'm calling it. Club Cool is going to be a paid experience.
Paid?
Mm-hmm.
Paid?
I'm not saying like you have to pay to get in there. I'm saying like, so at Club Cool, as you know it, like you would walk in there and you would see all of these fun beverages that you would want to drink. But I don't think that it's going to be like a fill your own fountain. I think it's going to be essentially like what they do at the Coke store at Disney Springs. And you can have a flight of international beverages that you purchase for a certain amount of dollars. Like, are you?
I'm flighting with you.
Okay, cool. So I think that's probably what they're going to do. And it would, like, I'm not saying that they want to keep down crowds, but I mean, it would keep it so there's not a million people trying to push the Beverly button at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it would keep the crowds way down, because I don't know that I would pay to go take 6 shots of international soda.
No way.
You don't even drink soda.
I don't even drink soda. I'm sure as heck not going to pay for it.
Okay, stay with me. For those of you who don't know, we have launched a second show called Reimagineer It. And so let's Reimagineer It. So here's what I would do, right? So you've got Club Cool, it opens. It needs a whole new theme. And we should actually call it Beverly's Place, right? And so you've got this 50s diner lady that comes all out and she's all like, I don't know what accent this is, but like, you got to come to Beverly's and come get your drinks and sodas from all over the world. And I just love that we would call it Beverly's, because that's the drink that everybody wants everybody to try, and tries to fake out their parents and say, you got to try this one. It's amazing. And they're all like,
okay. Beverly's.
That's my Reimagineer of Club Cool. You're welcome for all of those accents.
That was an amazing accent.
Beautiful.
So bad.
Incredible.
Okay, because I have to do more talking. Another thing that happened this week, if you follow the parks as closely as we do, a lot of people that are gearing up for their summer vacations, especially now that the pandemic seems to be moving in a good direction. Vaccines are getting rolled out. So people are thinking about travel. And to be honest, Disney World is getting really busy. We all know that Disneyland's getting ready to open at the end of April. And so everybody was looking at these things and the hours, people who aren't that close and tied to Disney were like, the hours are awful. Magic Kingdom is closing at 6 and Hollywood Studios and Epcot are closing at 7. And so they finally, typically, like a few weeks before spring break timeline, they rolled out like several weeks of dates in March. But then it was kind of like 1 week at a time they were doing it. And people were like, the summer hours are so horrible. Well, Disney did you a favor. They rolled out a massive summer park hours extension all the way through mid-June. So let's talk a little bit about what they were and what they were going to be. So now, April 25th through June 19th at the Magic Kingdom used to be 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Now it is 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. So several more hours in the park there. And then Epcot, April 25th through May 8th, and May 9th through June 19th used to be 11 to 7. Now the first part of that's going to be 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then the second half of that is 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Then Hollywood Studios, April 25th to May 22nd they've only added an hour, but it's instead of 9 to 7, it's 9 to 8. The rest of that, May 23rd through June 18th is 9 to 8 p.m. I don't know why that was divided into two things there. I'm dumb. April 25th through May 1st at Animal Kingdom, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Previously, it was closing at 5. So 3 extra hours in the park there. Wow. So that's good. Yeah, and that park, to me, comes alive at night. And well, even
at 8 o'clock, it's not
you're
dark.
right. It's barely dusk.
Yeah.
Well, never mind. And then May 2nd through June 19th, it's 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. That's even earlier. So you're going to have to go pretty early spring. I mean, through May 1st.
Yeah.
Which is right around the corner. So, wow. Right. But anyway, the hours are extended. I'm sure there's going to be more to come. And I think we're all anticipating. I mean, I'll let you guys dive in and give your thoughts. I think we're weeks away from an announcement of them upping the capacity starting inter-summer date here. I would be shocked if that didn't happen. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm super hopeful that the capacity bumps up soon. I mean, just living here, obviously, the option to just get off of work and go to a park is gone. Like there's you can't just say at 2:00, oh, let's go to the Magic Kingdom tonight and grab a reservation and go. Yeah. It's just, they're just gone within a day of them coming out. So, I mean, I'm hoping and praying that there is going to be some sort of capacity bump so that option comes back. Because like we were talking about earlier, Krista and I, there's not really a point to having an annual pass right now and living 10 minutes away because I can't go to the park when I want to. So
it's hard.
It's super frustrating, but I mean, it's unprecedented times. It will get better, but I just hope they bump the capacity soon.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this is an opinion piece. So I've been on Clubhouse a lot, and there's some guys in there that are tied closely to Disney News. They live in Orlando and Tampa. There were a couple of Imagineers in a room that I'm in a lot. Actually, one of the guys that he's there quite often. He was the artist, Matthew, that just did all of the artwork that's going all on the walls in for Moana and all of that stuff in the Polynesian.
I was in that room.
Yeah. So that guy, anyway, they were sharing that there's been some interviews with Chapek that I don't think it was like the shareholders meeting. I don't think any of that, but he has been apparently on the record saying that Chapek's goal is by fiscal 22 that they would be done with masks in the park. And so
that's fourth quarter this year, right?
Yes. Yeah. So that is October. So funny how that lines up with it. And so obviously we all know, like if you follow the news, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine looks like, I don't know, I wasn't following it closely today. Did it get pulled?
It got pulled.
It got pulled for a couple days.
That's a huge setback. So we'll see what becomes of that. But, it's rolling out nicely. I was not very optimistic about anything happening this year. I still think it's a stretch, but I would love for Chapek to pull pull it for the 50th. I mean, then maybe they could do some kind of celebration. Will that happen? I have no idea. Is that 100% speculation? 100% yes. So take that for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, I have one more piece of Disney news, and this is actually really, it's for some reason it's been really controversial almost, but I don't know why it is. I mean, it's huge. So since opening day, Disney parks have been welcoming guests using 4 keys. That is safety, courtesy, show, and efficiency. But beginning a couple days ago, April 13th, there will be a 5th key at the heart, at the center of all of those keys, and that's the key of inclusion. This key will ensure the safety, courtesy, and efficiency and show is a place where everyone will want to be. So this is a huge undertaking because it'll improve the parks. It'll improve the way that cast members are able to kind of do their jobs, and it'll make way for people who may have avoided it in the past due to its tricky past or undertones that are yet to be addressed. And so I think that's kind of one place where Disney's really going. So it'll allow for more, let's say, inclusive hairstyles and outfits, to allowing for visible tattoos and piercings, from accessible products for disabled people, to ensuring that they're collaborating with more diverse groups of people, from making it a place where different cultures might feel afraid or unwelcome to making it a place where they feel embraced. Yeah. So it's just huge. Disney is a place where people want to go to leave their cares behind and have fun. As Walt said, to all who come to this happy place. Yeah. So we need to make it a place where all people feel welcomed in a happy place. So I am very excited to see where this will lead the Walt Disney Company, and where people will feel welcomed and embraced, and because I'd hate for somebody to walk into a place where even I will walk in and say, like, I love this place, but that's because I'm a white male, and sometimes people don't feel that way. Yeah. And so I would hate for anybody to see it in a different light than I see it. Yeah. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, it's always good to have that perspective. Your white middle class American family, they have no clue what other people groups, whether it be race, religion, whatever, like the way they look, like we have no like real concept of what it's like to be dealing with the things that have definitely, sparked up and finally come to the world's attention, more than just the United States, but the world's attention, like since, randomly the pandemic. But it's just, I'm glad that people have found their voice, and it's a voice for good. And like, I love that Disney's doing this, because, we'll throw up the picture right here. You see a handful of different people here. And at first I looked at the lady, and it took me a second. I was like, she doesn't look. And then Kim was like, oh, she has dreads. I'm like, okay. Yeah. So she had dreads and a little bit colored hair. And then you had the guy that is Haunted Mansion cast member, who had ear piercings and like black fingernail polish, right? And then you had when you talk about the gender neutral like inclusion of clothing, especially for women don't always want to wear a skirt, right? And so it was there was 2 things I noticed with the last girl. She had her hand up, and there was a small wrist tattoo right here, but she was a Jungle Cruise operator, and she also had pants on, so of course they typically wear pants.
They typically wear pants.
Anyway, but I mean, I just kudos to them to let people. I mean, when I go to a Disney park, really anything Disney related, the immediate thing that it jumps out of my mind is the expression of what this is.
Yeah.
And so now that people get to express who they are only makes sense in a place where it is all about expression. And so kudos to Disney.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at it, I mean, like I said, this is a huge undertaking. Disney wanted to, and they did the complete right thing. I loved what they said. They released a video. They did the incredible, it was an incredible service to the cast members by welcoming cast members into this conversation. Instead of it just being a conversation among executives, they brought people of all different people groups into this conversation to begin the conversation of where can we lead the cast member experience? Where can we lead the resort experience? Where can we lead the reimagineering of rides and attractions? So this goes from something like dress and hairstyles and the Disney look all the way up to removing not politically incorrect things from attractions. So it's huge and it's really great.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's super awesome, and I'm glad that they're doing it. Inclusivity is huge in today's world, and I'm super glad that Disney has done it. Just to play a little bit of devil's advocate, I love the fact that they're going to let people express themselves. I want to know where that line is that they're going to draw as far as how expressive you can be. Hair, not necessarily hairstyle, but hair color. Earrings, yes, but can you have big gauges in your ears? Part of the charm of Disney is that it doesn't look like any other theme park. The people that work there aren't
right
like any other theme park. So while I'm all for it, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here, I just hope that it doesn't go to where it looks like another one of those cheap theme parks. Does that make sense?
Yeah, almost like a traveling
saying.
carnival feel.
Yeah, I don't think people are going to take it to that extreme.
No.
But if you have a guy with two full arm sleeves, is he going to be able to wear? Is he going to be able to wear his tattoos out with two full sleeves? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, where do you draw that line?
I think right now, I haven't seen this for sure, but I have heard that at the moment, I think there's still restrictions, but I think it's the fact that it's actually allowed.
Yeah.
So there's definitely restrictions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, don't get me wrong, I'm all for it. I'm super glad that they're doing it.
Yeah.
It reflects the world today.
Yeah.
I just want part of the charm and allure of Disney is that it's set apart from other theme parks.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, I mean, it was cool. Like, I mean, part of me kind of chuckled as somebody who has a handful of tattoos on their arms.
An armful?
Fair enough. I did find it interesting that the girl is standing, I forget how she's saying it, but like there's literally this little tattoo right here.
It's like she was holding her hat.
Yeah, she's holding her hand, so it was right. But it was very minimal. And I think, like, to me, I was almost surprised, like, well, gosh, something like that wasn't allowed. And so to allow that didn't feel like wow to me, because I mean, I have my daughter's name like right across the back of my forearm. And then I have like our son's coordinates where he was born. I can't show. There we go. And, and then I have like a whole different thing on the other inside of my forearm, so I think you're right, Brandon. Where is the line? I think it's going to be a pretty hard and strict line. Like, I have a feeling that somebody who has a sleeve is probably going to have to wear a long sleeve shirt in the park. Like, I have a feeling.
Or there are different parts of the park where they're welcomed.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Like, if somebody has a sleeve,
they work at the land of Moana.
Or Pirates of the Caribbean, or, something like that. So maybe there's different lines that are to be drawn.
Yeah.
I said
super awesome.
Drawn.
I saw what you did there.
English.
This was great, man. Good stories this week.
Oh, yeah. Fun time.
Okay, guys, since we're heading to the parks really soon, I thought it would be great to save this special surprise for this week, because we actually got to connect with this young man who spent several years with the Walt Disney Company in a really interesting and unique role that I'd never heard of. Like, at the heart of it, he is, of course, an Imagineer, but what he did for the company was really unique. And I was like, after I learned more about this role in the company, I was like, well, of course, somebody has to do that. And of course, that's a very important role. But I'm interested to ask some of these questions to him about what that was like having to give this particular information. Enough smoke and mirrors. I would love to welcome to our show Carl Jablonski, who is a retired Imagineer who worked at a lot of the theme parks. I'm going to let you, Carl, unpack what you did. But first, introduce us. Tell us who you are and what your relationship was with Disney all those years.
Oh, wonderful. It's nice to be here and nice to say these things to your audience. This has been a really behind the scenes kind of a job. I've never been the kind of person to be on stage, so this is a lot of fun for me. How I came to Imagineering in the short story is I was hired asked to go to Imagineering and interview for a job as a model maker. And it was for some project called Epcot at the time. And I had no idea. I had this catch in my throat, so I didn't know what quite it was. That was sort of the joke around 1980, 81 with the Imagineers. We would all kind of cough when we said Epcot. But in any event, I went to interview with the model department manager, and having that experience was good. And I saw the models, and they were wonderful for Epcot, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. But what happened was I got asked to come on as a model maker, and I turned it down. And for a model maker, and I'll get back to a really brief history of my model making career, for a model maker, that's like the epitome of your career is to be asked to be a Disney model maker, because their models are just terrific. And they go to the nth degree to look at everything that the guest is going to see in miniature. So in any event, because the pay wasn't quite as what I wanted it to be, it was an extra 15 miles drive a day beyond LA, downtown LA, where I was working at Cal State University, down to Glendale. It just didn't work out. So I came back and I just forgot about it. And about 2 weeks later, I got a call from Disney again. And they said, the chief estimator would like you to come in and talk to him about being a estimator. And I said, I don't have a clue as to what you're talking about.
Right.
My background is in scenic design and lighting. I have my master's in scenic design and lighting. I've done over 35 different productions in design and technical theater. I've toured all over the country, down into Mexico. A lot of live show stuff. But it was as a designer, as a technical director, and pretty much working for a nonprofit like a university. There is no budget. You just have scenery in stock, and you have student labor, and you don't have to worry about costs. So when they said show estimator, it just didn't even ring a bell with me. I had no idea. But I thought, okay, well, I'll go in there and see what they have to say. So I met a fellow named Dave Holtz, and Dave is a longtime friend. And Dave, nicest guy in the world, rest in peace. He died last year. But Dave asked me, he says, you have the business of building scenery and working with vendors and contractors and things like that. And I did at the time in show business and in scenery. And he says, we need somebody that can put the costs together for shows and rides. And as Disney puts it, what the guest sees, everything on stage is what the guest sees, everything backstage is just backstage, and it's not important as far as money goes. It's just normal building. So he explained this all to me, and talked to me quite a bit about it and offered me the position, knowing that I had no background in it whatsoever. I've been on production basically with a tool belt on, working in the shop for the last 10 years, going to school, building scenery, managing the construction of scenery, that kind of thing. So anyway, I remember going home to my wife and I said, Allison, they're going to pay me more money to sit at a desk, look at blueprints, and guess how much this stuff is going to cost.
I mean, that sounds like a great job.
Yeah, I thought,
I'm in.
What could be wrong with that? At the time, I was about 30, 32 years old, I guess. And I'd been doing production work for 7 days a week, 24 hours a day for years and years. And let's just say my body was kind of breaking down with all the lifting and all that. You kind of reach a point where you just have to stop doing that stuff. So I said, all right, we'll give it a spin and we'll try it. So I went in there, and the first week I was there, I asked them, okay, so what do you want me to do? And they said, well, just give us the cost of this particular show. And I said, well, what do I do? How do I put it together? And they said, well, we have these files. This is way back. We didn't have computers like that. We had to go to the files drawers. And he said, just pull out any of the files and look at them, and you'll see how we do it. So I remember going into the files, and I pulled out several samples of things that Dave did and some of the other estimators did who had no background in show. And I looked at the pages, and it would go, I don't remember the show, but it said, Scene 1, allowance, $100,000. That was it. Scene 2, allowance, $50,000. And on it went. Everything was an allowance. And I'm thinking to myself, well, this is going to be easy money if all I have to do is open up the page and look at a model and go, it's going to cost $100,000 and nobody's going to argue with me.
Boom,
Where do
just
I
write a
sign?
number.
Yep, sign me up right now. Well, I was there, and I thought, well, a lot of things came to my mind. So over time, I got involved with the facility estimators, the guys that do the core and shell building stuff. I always say that I put stuff in the buildings and they build the buildings. And I started to learn the process of real construction estimating because I needed, personally, I needed to have more detail. I needed to understand what it was I was putting an estimate to. So anyway, that's how it started, and I bugged the heck out of all the construction estimators. I hung around them like, fly on the wall wherever I could. I asked them lots of questions. I went to USC night school and got a class in construction estimating. I remember I did a little warehouse with concrete and steel and everything. It was all new to me, so it was a learning curve that was kind of fun. And then I got involved with the American Society of Professional Estimators during my first years with Disney, and eventually became the newsletter guy and the president of the local LA founding chapter. So I was a unique guy in a group of people that didn't know what entertainment was, which is kind of a unique position if you play it right, because I was asked to be guest speaker quite a bit at different places because of that. You know, anybody who at the time worked for Disney, or I also worked at NBC Studios, and you're talking to a bunch of construction guys that build towers and office buildings and things like that, then you're certainly going to stand out as a person that's been in show business. So, but the reason I did that was to learn the discipline. And that's how I really put it all together. And I became the guy. My favorite saying has always been, I want to cost the gray areas in the show, in the attraction. I want to cost or estimate the parts of the building that are affected by the show, whether it's heat from the lighting, vibrations from the roller coasters, or whatever you put in there to move people around, all those things that impact the building that nobody was paying attention to. So I began to call it the gray area of show estimating. And that's sort of it in a nutshell. That's how I started. And over time, I built the budget for Epcot Center, which was, I think at the time, $1.8 billion.
Wow.
And that was certainly a lot of money. In fact, you could ask my wife. I'd come home and I would round our checkbook up to $1,000 without even realizing I was just rounding everything off, which I used to do to the penny. So, but just to be clear, I was a conceptual estimator, not a what they call a bid and construct estimator at that time. It was, here's what we want to do. We don't have any working drawings for what we want to do, or we may have working drawings that were maybe at the schematic level, which is basically a sketch. And you have to tell us what goes in that attraction or in that show in that building and flesh it out. So I did. I had 10 years of experience designing and building scenery. So, a platform is a platform, a wall is a wall. Whatever the model was showing, I could take it off. I could look at it. I could measure it. Rock work, I would use little square, 1 foot square pieces of tinfoil and paste them on the model, on the rockwork model. And then until I filled the rockwork model up, I would peel them all off. I would know roughly how many square feet of rockwork I had. So, we didn't have digital anything back then, so it was all handwritten.
Right.
So there's just so much to talk about that, but that's the gist of it. That's how I got involved in it. And I'm the kind of person that just, when you give me a project, I just go full bore into it with as much passion as I can deliver. That's just what I do.
Wow. Well, who knew that was even a thing? It's crazy. Wow.
It was, now at the beginning it was fun, but as you go along and you start going to the meetings where they say, that's going to cost what? And you have to start justifying that cost, and you have to start telling them why. And then on the other side of it, you've got the art directors, or in Disney's case, the show producers, looking at you with daggers because you're trying to kill their show, or the production department in Tahunga, which built all the sets and that for most of Epcot at Imagineering in the early 80s. They actually had a sign that said no estimators with an extra. So there's another story about how I got into that and ease their mind, but everybody at the company did not like show estimators or any estimators of any kind. They were basically, Marty Sklar called me a project killer.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's right. It's like everything either like was made, it was like make it or break it with the estimator, right? Yeah. It's just like, and then you've got,
Yeah, that's true. But I would say the hidden side of the Disney, of the Imagineering product, whether it's Tokyo or Paris or Epcot or all the different projects we did, Disney just has the money and the financials to put it together. When they make a decision to do an Epcot or Paris or whatever, you may hear and hear people talk about it and see things in the press about they're going over budget, they're not going to be able to finish in time, blah, 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 all these negative kind of things. And we certainly felt that at our desks and at our meetings. When you get yelled at by Michael Eisner or whatever, you know you've made it. So the real truth of the matter is, though, when Disney does these things, I think without them coming right out, and they'll never come right out and say we do this. This is my theory because I've lived through so many of them. They just get it done. Marty Sklar and John Hench would come into the shop to sign off on a set. And I'm talking about one big scene for Horizons Pavilion, for example. And for whatever reason, they didn't like it. Somehow it didn't translate from the model to the big set by the time they saw it. And they'd say, that's not going to work. And they have to redo the entire thing. They go back to doing remodel and whatever. How many companies can afford to do that? I mean, this is probably $200,000 worth of scenery that they just wave their hands, said it's not going to work.
I mean, I feel like that approach was definitely passed down by Walt, right? Because he was definitely known of doing that. Like they would get fairly far on a project, and he'd come in and not like it, and they'd wipe out, you know, weeks, even months of work, and you know, to restructure it or reframe it to do something different. And so I guess that was just kind of the culture at Disney of they don't really care about. I mean, they care about the cost, but they're going to say, no, we're going to do it right. Like regardless of where we were at in the process. So, I mean, kudos, because I think some of the things that, well, of course, some of the things that Disney has created just been incredible, and, you know, and lifelong memories attached to, you know, all of us, and then millions of Disney fans all over the world for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing about Disney. You know, they have pretty much a guarantee that whatever park they open, they're going to get 11, 12 million people. Besides that, they're so diversified with their films and now video and all this other stuff that they've got. They're a very, very solid company. I mean, they're just really solid. And Michael Eisner had a lot to do with that a little after I got there. But Disney is the only company, and I say this in my book, that Disney has the money to throw at it. You hear stories about, you know, I know what the budgets were for Epcot. I know what the budgets were for Paris, France. And only after the fact, now years later, you can go online and see that the real number for Epcot was probably more like $4 billion, not $1.8 billion. And I understand why. I went through the pre-installation. I saw the ride track get destroyed at Spaceship Earth weeks before opening because a coupling broke and snapped a good part of the train around all the scenery and just destroyed it. I knew all the stories about the different ride vehicles and energy and that, and the problems they were having with it. But the fun part about Epcot, at least, was the fact that we were just a bunch of kids, basically, that got asked to come in and build a project. It was like, hey, I've got a project. Let's go put it in my garage and build it. And everybody just got together, didn't know anybody, didn't know each other, and we all worked together as a solid team. That was the most fun part of working at my first gig with Epcot Center. And everybody, no matter who they were, whether it was in show production or show design or scope writing or whatever, they were very serious at their jobs. They were very good at communicating with other departments. And I don't recall any kind of animosity or, you know, political fighting or territorial things at anything those 3 years during the Epcot project. We just all were going like hell to try to get this project built and open.
Sure, yeah,
sure,
you know,
sure.
And even though I kept telling him how the money was situation, it was like, okay, well, we'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of it.
Nice.
But from my perspective, the hard part, I'll give you one quick example. The Horizons Pavilion, Doug Stapp, who's a very, very good project manager, one of the best they had, I think. I had to work for him, and I learned a lot from Doug. But Doug came in one day, and he put the Horizon footprint, the layout of the Horizon building on the wall and estimating. Had us all gathered together, and he says he took a eraser, what do you call it, a grease pencil, and he knocked off 30% of the building. And he said, we got to cut 30% of the building.
Wow.
All right. Now, if you remember, Horizons didn't open until a year later. Didn't open up.
Right.
Yep.
So we're just looking at each other going, how the heck are we going to take 30% out of this? Because this is a designed ride attraction. And if you're familiar with the ride, it's got a vehicle that goes up like 3 or 4 stories on a big format screen. And I forget how many scenes it had now, but he's basically saying you got to shorten the track, you got to reduce the scenes, you got to do this, you got to do that, we got to take 30% out of it. And then you look over at the show producer and you say, and by the way, you got to make your story now fit 30% less of a story.
Jeez.
How do you do that?
Yeah.
So that's part of the reason that I got into the detailed line item estimating in show and ride, because before, if you have an allowance, it's easy to take 30% out of $100,000.
Yeah.
You don't have 30 grand. That's easy.
Yeah.
But if you have a line item and it says it's got 15 animatronic figures and it's got 198 ride vehicles and it's got all these different quantities of things, then you can come back and say to the show producer, how can I work with you to make this show story work, this attraction work, and still give you the elements you need to tell the story. So we would sit together, and because of my design background, I would say, well, what if we did this background as a scenic mural instead of a hard, flat, dimensional flat? Okay, that's called value engineering in our business of estimating.
Yeah.
So it's because I had the experience of building these things, I could suggest to the show producer, let's look at it doing it this way instead of this way. And you've got 5 figures in this scene. I can only give you 3. You have to pick out the ones that you can live without. And maybe we can take some of the animation away from them, some of the movement, and I can reduce the figures. So it was a give and take, back and forth all the time. But at the end of the day, you still have to go into the room with Marty Sklar and John Hinch and the boys and say, here's what the project costs.
Yeah.
And are you approve it or don't approve it?
Yeah. And that's a great segue, Carl, because obviously you had a hand in a lot of stuff at the parks in Orlando. So obviously you couldn't work on every single thing that was done in every single park. But if you could just kind of enlighten us kind of on some of the major things that you kind of had a hand in as far as, from the beginning, estimating the cost of it that we even may still see today at the parks.
Well, like I said, I was just there with the family in December. Spaceship Earth was my one main project that I worked on Epcot with Doug Stapp. That was Doug Stapp's project.
It's beautiful in every way imaginable. We love it.
It is. And I can tell you that on opening day, I was there standing underneath it all by myself, just watching the faces of people as they strolled through it and around it.
Oh, wow.
And it's just an amazing feeling. But the Spaceship Earth project, which my kids call Daddy's Golf Ball, and I'm not stealing it from Doug Stapp, because Doug Stapp actually had a golf ball with 3 little T's under it on his desk when we were doing Epcot, Spaceship Earth. But Spaceship Earth was about, at the time, I think it was roughly $100 million project for building a facility, show, and ride. And starting with the model, going through the R&D at the special effects shop for the molten lava and the neon and the laser and all these things, which were all new to us at that time in 1980. Nobody was using the kinds of things that Disney did for special effects. From the projectors that Don Iwerks built for all of Epcot at the studio machine shop. I just had a conversation with Don. Don let me into the studio shop back in early 1980. And he says, what do you want? And I said, well, I have to price these projectors, these things you're making for Epcot, and I don't know what they are. I don't know what a starlight projector is. I don't know what this is. They weren't invented yet. He was inventing them. And he said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, can I just hang around the shop? I'll come in, 2 or 3 times a week, and I'll talk to the guys and I'll look at what you're doing. I could physically see them. And I said, I'm kind of a mechanical guy. I can do that kind of stuff. I can build stuff. And I can kind of figure out labor hours and material prices and make a better guess at it than just saying it's going to cost X. I don't know. So he did allow me to do that. And I when my book came out a few weeks ago, I got in touch with him, and we exchanged books. Don Iwerks has a great book out now on his father, Ub Iwerks. If you are all interested in that kind of Disney history, it's just a wonderful Disney book. It's Ub Iwerks. And he said, well, let me read your book. And I said, well, you're in it. I said, I told a story about how nice you were to me you didn't know me from Adam. You let me come into your studio machine shop. And this is the same machine shop that Walt Disney built his little train models in.
Oh,
and that
cool.
Works built all these wonderful things for Disneyland and whatever and invented them. So, I mean, there's so much history in the shop. And Don Iwerks, who's an Academy Award winner for his special effects work in 360-degree film and circle vision and all that. Sometimes you just have to stop and go, my God, I got to work with these people. I got to work alongside these people. And at the time, I was just working. It wasn't we didn't know. I didn't really know too much about Don Iwerks or Ube Iwerks back in 1980. I barely knew Disney history back in 1980. I wasn't a big, I went to the senior prom Disney nights and I did those kinds of things. We lived, I think as a kid, I went there in 1950s with my parents took us the first few years. But that was it. I wasn't a big knowledgeable about the history. So anyway, the Spaceship Earth was one of my projects, which I saw open. I watched it get built. I watched the Alcoa panels go up on it. I walked the building when there was no panels on it, and watched the steelworkers sleeping during their lunch hour right on the edge of the concrete with no guardrail or anything up next to them.
Pre-OSHA days, I guess.
Yeah, pre-OSHA days. And just to see it go up from a model through my drawings that I had to estimate from, through the scope writer's stories. I mean, you literally get it in your head what this is going to be, and then all of a sudden see it out there and be physically standing in it. It's just a wonderful, once in a lifetime experience.
That's crazy.
Now, Horizons Pavilion. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, please.
Horizons Pavilion was my second major pavilion that I did, and that was with George McGinnis. And George is just another wonderful show producer, and he was just something else to work for. George also did, I think it's the Mark IV monorail designs. He was very much into that high-tech transportation stuff. So Horizons was his show and attraction, and we got to go through that whole thing together from start to finish, including the reduction in that we had to do for it. And then again, when it opened up in, was it 83, I guess?
Yep.
Just something else to go through that in the ride. Actually, the test track was for the ride vehicle was at Tahunga, the Tahunga facility. They did a miniature version of it. I don't know, I would guess probably about 140 feet of track with all the ups and downs and things. And they had to test it because it was the first time they were using that type of vehicle with as much technology as it had in it on an overhead track. I think they had it in Peter Pan, but Peter Pan was just basically like a cleaning,
right? Yeah, exactly.
Right. It didn't have all the speakers, didn't have all that. It didn't go up 4 stories, and it had to really be different. So I got to ride that when it was just a little bit of a test track in Tahunga. So I kind of got a feel for what that was all about.
Before Matthew goes, I think I can speak collectively for the three of us. If we could get you to propose as an estimator, jump back into your role and come up with a really, really small number and guarantee that it would cause 70 million more people over the next 60 days to come to Walt Disney World if they brought Horizons back, would you do it?
I would. I think it was a shame that Horizons.
Yes. It was fascinating.
And in fact, in my visit to Epcot, I was so disappointed from what I knew of Epcot to this day, last December. We belong to the Imagineering alumni group. There's about 6,000 of us or something. I don't know what there is. But I submit articles all the time to them. And I came back so disappointed in my feeling for Epcot in what it is today that I just basically wrote an article, a critique of it. And I said, it's lost its magic There's no more Figment. There's no more Story. There's no more. You don't walk around with seeing people with a little twinkle in their eyes having fun. It's just not the same. And that could be said of any project when you do something, 35 years ago and whatever. But it does point out the fact that Epcot itself, that sort of serendipitous gathering of all of these different talents, writers, show producers, estimators, business people, coordinators, all these wonderful people that got together that just said, okay, what's the opening date, sir? And they'd write it down. They'd say, okay, 1982. And here it is, 1980. And you want us to, what, sir? You want us to build a $1.8 billion, never before seen prototype project called Epcot, which nobody's seen anything like it before. Oh, and by the way, we want you to reproduce Europe and vicinity in real architecture and real story. Sure, why not? We can do that. It's like the old Mickey Rooney shoes. Let's do a show. I'll do it in my garage. When you're doing it, it's nothing. It's just fun. A lot of days, a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. I always tell people I didn't get my gray hair at Disney. I got my gray hair at NBC Studios.
There you go.
That's different. That's a whole different entertainment genre.
Sure. Yeah.
So anyway, that's Horizons Pavilion was great. Now I did work on pretty much every single pavilion in World Showcase or Future World. There wasn't one attraction show that I didn't get involved with.
Wow.
Including the live entertainment group for their live show, fireworks and stuff they did on the lake, I forget the name of the lake. And just about everything they went through that had to do with what the guest sees, it came across my desk somehow. Wow. So I was really, when I'd walk around there or go to a building or whatever, it was like Christmas, like just seeing the real Christmas presents in front of me for the first time.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
But besides walking during the construction and building of it, at Mapo, for example, watching Ben Franklin walk up the stairs for the first time in Mapo, where they did all the animatronics, or watching Mark Twain speak, or watching the Kitchen Cabaret characters come to life. In the Tahunga facility where they were doing all the animation programming, Wathel Rogers and the boys. All of that was being done at two different places, Mapo and at the Disney office itself on Flower, and the Tahunga facility, which we called the Tahunga facility because it was on Tahunga Avenue in I think it was North Hollywood. And they were programming the animation there. They were doing all the fur and feathers and the clothing and the wardrobe and all the sets. And then at Disney office buildings on Flower, they were doing an R&D for all of the special effects that nobody had ever seen before. And this was an area that you couldn't get into. I had a pass because I was an estimator. There was not one door that was not open to me during the Epcot project. Not one.
Jeez.
I could walk
before Matthew jumps in, I do want to say, because I love when you give homage to the Mapo building for people who don't know. So that was a building where all of that went on, and basically where that came from, where they got the name for that is that the profits that they had from the Mary Poppins Mapo film is what was used to build that facility where all of that stuff could go on and happen. So I just wanted to say, when you throw out some of those names of some of the people that don't know what that is, that's kind of a little bit of history. It's pretty cool. So Matthew, what were you going to ask?
So we've been talking about Epcot, and one thing that I do know is that Epcot was kind of happening almost at the same time as Tokyo Disneyland was beginning to be developed, and so it was all kind of interlocking, and it was just very interesting. Could you what was your involvement? I saw that you were involved in Tokyo Disneyland. Could you tell me a little bit of what you did over there and some of the parks overseas?
Well, just with Tokyo, I came in late on it because it really opened up about the same time, if I remember, or just before Epcot did.
Right.
I got involved with a lot of the attractions that came out of Imagineering for the Tokyo project, and working overseas and working with those, with different types of the drawings were not in imperial measurement; they were all in metric. So that was kind of my first taste in learning metric. I mean, talk about being thrown in the fire, into the frying pan. You not only know how to not estimate, now they're going to tell you can't use 1 inch equals a foot.
Yeah.
So I can't tell you how many mistakes you can make when you're trying to do that conversion, especially when all you have is a hand, a key calculator. You don't really have an iPad or an iPhone that gives you those things anymore in those days. So it was fun working on Tokyo Disneyland. There was a guy named Peter Alexander who was kind of responsible for the project, who was right outside our office for the West Coast side. And he would tell me stories, and we'd see, of course, we'd hear all the things. But most of the stuff I did with Tokyo were last minute changes and things that they wanted to do. And they, had to be immediately put on a plane if possible, or a boat if they had to get it out there to the project on time. Sure. So I didn't really have a whole lot of involvement with that because of the timing of it.
Yeah.
So I was focusing more on Epcot.
Nice.
The one project I did get involved with in a big way was the Paris Disneyland, or what we used to call EDL or Euro Disneyland.
Yeah, Euro. Yep.
Yeah.
Nice. Now you've told us obviously a lot of stories about projects you've worked on and places you've been and people you met. Is this the kind of stuff that, obviously you mentioned that your book came out recently.
Right.
So is this the kind of stuff that the readers could find out about in your book, or is there some more different kind of stories? Tell our viewers what your book's about.
Yeah, pretty much what I'm talking about today is all in the book. For some reason, I don't have a photographic memory per se, but I've always been an observer. I guess that's an asset when you're an estimator. You go around and you constantly look at things, and you may not consciously look at them and say, "Oh, I'm going to remember what that looks like or how that was built." But for some reason in my head, I could come up with it when I'm estimating something and say, "Oh, okay, I know how they did that," or I can put that together. I just had a feel for it. And what I did with the Cost of a Kingdom, which is the book that just got released by Theme Park Press, that basically was a story I wrote back in 2013 for my kids. I really wanted to write down, because I was traveling a lot and I was gone a lot, working 12, 14-hour days, 7 days a week in my business. I thought, well, maybe I should write this down so my kids could eventually know what Daddy did when he was gone all the time. And that's how it started. And then when I traveled, which I did extensively with Disney, I don't know, maybe consciously I wore my little Mickey badge on the plane. I always say I didn't, but maybe subconsciously I did. Because let's face it, when you wear the Mickey badge, people start talking to you.
Oh, yeah. Sure, it's a badge of honor, yeah.
Business, yeah. When you're traveling on business, it's not necessarily a fun life, but it does open up conversation. Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot to take my badge off, right?
Thanks for noticing.
Yeah, so it would open up conversations. Well, what did you do? And what did you, how is it working with them? And it's all the same kind of thing I'm talking about now. I said, well, I was a show cost estimator. And they go, what the heck is that? Yeah. And why do I care? I just go there and I get on the rides and I get on the shows and I have fun. Well, okay, what we did was behind the scenes, and we had the stress of budgets and meeting deadlines and that kind of thing. So that's how it started. And over time, it got narrowed down to what I ended up with the book title being Cost of a Kingdom, which is really all the positive things and the people I got to work with over the Epcot project, the Euro Disney project, and also the Fantasyland 83 project, including Star Tours, which I was pretty much the first one to see the drawings for. And that's an exciting story all by itself.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. And I love
All
how
right.
you said you kind of wrote the book as a gift to your family so that they knew
Yeah, that's so
what
great.
Dad did, and that kind of translates to all these projects that you worked on in the parks are kind of a gift to us, right, and younger generations. So I just thought it was super cool that you phrased it that way, like it was a gift to the family.
Well, I hope it is, and I hope people read it. I'm getting a lot of good reviews or sayings on all the Disney sites that I sent it to. A lot of people are responding to it. I have no idea if it's selling or how it's selling because my publisher hasn't told me anything since I released it. And I certainly didn't write it for the money. I'm not. This is I'm not Tolstoy. I didn't write Anna Karenina. But I did want to write it down and document what I did, and I wanted people to see the other side of Imagineering, because even though it was business, I'm still a scenic designer and a technical director in theater at heart. I spent the first 10 years of my life doing live show stuff, and I did television. And I did film, and I did special effects and model work. So all of that stuff I'm passionate about, and I'm basically writing stories about all of that right now. I have another book I'm working on, which is more of a textbook for estimating how you do it, how does it get done, how did we work with the quantity surveyors on Euro Disneyland, which is a completely different animal than an estimator in the United States. What was that relationship like? What did I learn from them? That's a book I'm writing now, and it's called The Business of Show, and I'm probably about halfway through it now. So we'll see. It's not going to be for everybody, but I'm definitely getting a lot of interest in it from the quantity surveyors of all things, which I didn't even expect, because when the 26 quantity surveyors, what I call the QSs, came over to the Euro Disney project in Glendale, and that was 86 or 87. I was the one that showed them how Disney estimated their projects, because they were construction guys. They had no idea what a show and a ride was. So I taught 26 QSs, which, by the way, is a degree in England, in Europe, which we don't even have a degree in estimating in this country.
Wow.
In the USA. It's a really different animal. And I learned so much from these guys, but I had to now tell them, okay, well, this is a ride, and this is what it does, and I had to give them a tour at Disneyland and take them there, and and there's nothing like going through Pirates of the Caribbean when there's no water.
Right.
Terrible. But the things people do that I won't even get into, that they find in those troughs.
Wow.
I can only imagine.
Yeah. So it's a lot of different experiences, but that's how the book came about, and it got honed into, let me share the stories. And quite frankly, I'm a little surprised and honored that people are interested in that side of it, because in show business, when you're in the technical side or the design side, you're behind the scenes.
Yep.
That's why the Oscars have a separate technical show, which they might show one guy getting the main technical Oscar for.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Right. But the rest of it is all the glamour and that kind of stuff, which the technical side, the people behind the sines, the producers, the managers, the estimators, all these people that are behind the scenes, we never get the recognition like that. That's just the way it's been in theater forever.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of a fun way for me to get back at that kind of concept and say, okay, well, I did some stuff too, and I got to work with all these great people, maybe not the same way you did.
For sure.
But because I have a background in show and in design and that, as I look back on it, I think I was able to maneuver the costs to the direction of getting the project built with the show producers.
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome.
Carl, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. I do have one more question for you, and I hope it's a fun one. What was your favorite attraction to work on?
probably Star Tours.
Okay.
I mean, out of all of them, because I opened up those drawings, as they say in my story, and I'm looking at this and I'm going, this is 1980, I think. And I'm looking at this thing and I'm going, this is a flight simulator that they're putting a movie screen into with animatronic figures and a cut from the Star Wars film. And at the time, it was kind of deja vu. I didn't realize that later on to be working for ILM, which I did.
Right. Yeah, I saw that.
But at the time, I said, God, you got the biggest blockbuster movie ever, and they're turning it into this ride. And as I'm going through the drawings and looking at it, I said, my God, nobody can touch this. This is going to cost a fortune.
Yep.
This is just going to cost a fortune. And it did. And I got to go on the test simulator that they had back in the parking lot.
way.
I got to go watch the construction of it, and I got to go on the ride, which I almost got sick on because I didn't realize that I didn't really like those kind of rides that much.
No.
That's probably the most fun project. And then watching Fantasyland '83 get completely reconstructed.
Right. Yeah, that was a huge project. I'm sure.
I still have a little gold ball from the original carousel canopy.
Wow.
With the gold foil tin on it. One of the estimators brought it when they were moving it.
Jealous.
Yeah, so I've got a lot of those stories.
I love it.
Love
Man,
it.
Carl, this has been awesome. I hope that we have pretended so well not to drool and be ridiculously jealous as you drop names like John Hinch and Marty Sklar and Don Iwerks. I mean, it's funny that you met Matthew and I are both in the television industry here locally where we're at. Yeah. And so thinking back to Don and just the intuitiveness and the creativity that he had to have to literally invent these things that they wanted. It's just like today, it's kind of like, hey, be creative. Back then it was no figure it out, create it, build it. And so it's been an honor to have you on, Carl. Thanks for spending a little bit of time with us. Tell us where people can find your book. What's the best way to get your book?
Well, the book is on Amazon and it's available, I understand, in Kindle now and or hard copy. I have a copy of it here if you don't see it.
Yes.
But can I just be really terrible and plug my children's story too?
Please, come on.
Plug away.
This is a story. I don't know if you can read this or not. Where's it? It looks like it's out of focus, but where?
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Right there.
There. It's called Chloe with the Crooked Ears, and it's published by Austin Macaulay, and it's online at Amazon. All my proceeds go to Westside German Shepherd Rescue in Los Angeles. And it's a story about our first German Shepherd and her crooked ears. And it's designed for children. So I've got another one coming out in this summer called A Name Unto Myself. It's called The Adventures of Chloe. And again, all my proceeds go to Westside German Shepherd Rescue. So
excellent. Well, I personally, I have a 10 and a 6-year-old, so I will grab it. I'm sure that's on Amazon as well, right?
It is.
Great. Yes, we'll grab it. Carl, thank you again.
Yes,
Thanks for getting the numbers right. So the generations that have come behind you and that will continue to come get to enjoy these fantastic rides. And we will make sure that we get Horizons back some way, shape, or form.
One day. One day.
There you go. All right, Carl, thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Carl.
It's been a joy.
All right.
Well, we had a lot of fun with Carl. I mean, I loved that little bit that we got to do just because we've never had an Imagineer on before. So that's awesome.
Super fun.
Yeah, super fun. Okay, it's Disney Plus time. And we had so much fun doing our little bit last week. So we're going to do the same thing that we did last week for this week's little bit for Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I feel like I need to take a deep breath this time.
Take a deep
Let's
breath.
give you the Cliff Notes. Here we go. We started in Wakanda 6 years ago. That needs an S. Wakandans trying to activate the Winter Soldier. Bucky becomes free of his Winter Soldier persona. Wakandans are mad that Bucky freed Zemo. They gave 8 hours to get it done, or they're going to kill Zemo.
Then everybody finds out that Carly bombed the supply warehouse. Well, Zemo wants to end her, and Sam and Bucky want it to be peaceful. Well, Zemo is a super weirdo, and he brings candy to children to find out where Danya's funeral is. He gets info from them about the funeral. Well, then Zemo tells Sam and Bucky that he knows where the funeral is, but he's going to use it as leverage. Sam confronts Zemo, and he's going to take him down.
Carly goes to the graveyard to retrieve vials of the serum. She has doubts that she is doing the right thing. Captain Carl sorry. And Buddy finds Sam and Bucky in Latvia. Sam and Bucky want to talk to Carly at funeral. Captain Carl is not happy with that plan at all.
Wait, it's my turn. Okay. Zemo gives a kid a bunch of money to give them a lead to a funeral. Carly gives an emotional eulogy about Danya. Carly and Sam. That's really funny. I'm sorry. I know we're like in a whole rush thing. Carly and Sam. That's like
Isn't that the Disney show?
That's the main characters of iCarly.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
it
Anyway,
is.
Carly and Sam have a discussion. Captain Carl gets too antsy and wants to break up Sam and Carly meeting. Captain Carl ruins everything as usual, and Carly escapes.
Zemo finds Carly, and he shoots her a lot. The serum falls out. Zemo smashes all of the vials, save for one. I lost my place. Captain Carl finds that and takes it. Carly gets a text from the power broker. The power broker wants the serum, or he's going to kill Carly. Carly has a plan to separate Bucky, Sam, and Zemo, and then she's going to try to kill Captain Carl.
Captain Carl wants to fight Sam. He's about to, and the Wakandans come into the room. Captain America and the sidekick fight Wakandans. Zemo sneaks out during the fight. Captain Carl is sad because he got whooped. Cap talks with the sidekick. No, we can't change it to Cap now. Captain Carl talks with the sidekick about the taking serum. Sounds like they really want to take the serum.
Carly calls Sam's sister to figure out if she should kill Sam. Asks her to arrange a meeting with Sam. Sam's sister calls Sam to help him about.
To tell him about the call.
Okay. Anyway, and Brandon.
So Sam and Bucky go to meet Carly. The Flag Smashers set a trap for Captain Carl. Smashers ambush Captain Carl. Bucky and Sam join forces with Captain Carl to fight the Flag Smashers. Carly kills Hoskins. Well, that makes Captain Carl snap, and he kills a man in broad daylight. Everyone films it on their cell phones. Pretty clear that Captain Carl took the serum because suddenly he is much stronger and much angrier. End scene.
There's a lot of Captain Carl. Folks, do you feel caught up on Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
I couldn't even catch up with what I was just listening to.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was
It was so quick and impressive.
it was
I couldn't comprehend
so
it.
quick and impressive. We do such an awful job with that.
yes.
Yes, we do.
Hey, we have big plans coming down the road.
We do have
for
big
Disney
plans.
Plus.
Just listen to it on like 50%.
That's
speed.
right. Put it on your slow-mo speed on your podcatcher of choice.
Podcatcher?
Yeah. Guys, that's our show.
That's
what
it.
an amazing time. Brandon, where can people connect with us during the week?
Hey, yes, people can connect with us on all the social medias. We're on Facebook. We are on Twitter. We are on Instagram, Another Disney Podcast. You can join us at our new YouTube URL. That's youtube.com/Another Disney Podcast. You can also join our Patreon. We got a $5 and a $10 level. Join us if you love what we do. We'd love your support. There's some extra content on there for you. So hit us up on Patreon. We'd love to see you.
Well, guys, that is a wrap for our show. We will see you on Tuesday on YouTube when we premiere our Reimagineering.
Yes.
I'm so excited. we'll see you then. Have a great week in Philadelphia.